It's time for love. It's time for your love coach. Let's find out if you're ready for love. Here's your marvelous host, Nikki Lee.
Hello, and welcome to Ready for Love Radio. This is your host and love coach, Nikki Lee. Now, listeners, we are going to talk to the owner of a really, really hot website today. I shared the link with my boyfriend, and he looked at that and he went, "Ooh, what a landing page!" So I'm just saying, you're going to like this. You really are. And this probably isn't going to be one for the kids. I'm letting you know that. So, and I love the title of the website and the domain name. It's Afterglow. And we're going to find out why she called it that. We're going to find that out here. We're going to find out all kinds of fun things about the solo founder. I like that. I found out lots of neat things about this woman last night when I was going over this information, and we're going to see if we can't find out some new juicy things about why she started this site and the business and all kinds of fun things. So I would like to welcome Lilly Sparks to Ready for Love Radio. Lilly, how are you doing today?
I'm doing so good. Thank you so much for having me, Nikki. I am excited for all of your questions and to see what you come out with. And I did want to add that our domain name is xoafterglow.com, just so people can find it.
I saw that. I looked at that and I went, ooh, I like that even better. So I really like what y'all did, and like I said, the first time I went to your site, I went, ooh, that's hot. I like that. So it gets your attention. It was so funny because I sent the link to him, and I said, click on this. Just click. He's like, ooh, that gets your attention. I said, that's why I sent it. So, and you know, sometimes I ask the guests to introduce themselves, but I like these two paragraphs so much, I'm going to introduce you, okay? I want to make sure I get to say this. So just to let my listeners know something. It says, Afterglow was founded in 2020 by solo founder and entrepreneur Lilly Sparks. Afterglow is the sex-positive, pleasure-focused platform and community shifting the adult media paradigm, curating stories, igniting conversations, and offering premium video and written content centered on sexual fulfillment. Afterglow empowers everyone to become experts in their own pleasure, paving the way for a future we want to live and star in. Afterglow is an adult site for those 18 plus with original licensed content behind a paywall and free sex-positive articles. Normalizing sex and porn in a modern world, Afterglow is the sex resource we all need. I love that. I read that last night and I went, hold on, let me just kind of absorb that and read it again. That is so great. I don't know who came up with that, but that's beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm really picky about words and how you put them together and all that, so I love that. That is awesome. And as somebody that tries to help convey the message about healthy sexuality and helping people to overcome issues around their sexuality and improve their relationships, I completely get that, and I completely applaud what you're trying to do and what I understand you're trying to do. Now, I am hoping to learn more about what you're trying to do, And I really, really, when I got this from Brian, I said, I want to help her get her message out there, and that's why I invited you to be on the show today. So I'm very glad to have you here with us.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. And basically what Afterglow is trying to do is we're trying to merge porn and sexual wellness. A little bit of my story is I was with my high school sweetheart, and we got together when I was 15. And, you know, I didn't know anything about sex or my body or how to explore my body. And, you know, everything we're taught in school is not around pleasure. It's really it's not about how to have sex. It's really about how not to have sex and all the things that can go wrong and how bad sex is. And no one ever really talks about, like, how to have a great sex life. And so I had no idea what I was doing. And I felt really alone, and I felt really ashamed. And I actually, like, didn't experience an orgasm until I was 24.
Right.
And, you know, at the same time, it's like my background is, you know, I've been an entrepreneur before. So I was, you know, running this big company and, like, you know, selling millions of dollars of products. But so I'm a smart cookie, but in my personal life, I would just, like, I couldn't figure out sex. And I felt really embarrassed about it, and I didn't know what to do. And, you know, I didn't want anybody else to have to go through what I went through. And so that was really the inspiration around starting Afterglow. And when I thought about, like, where do people, like, learn about sex? Like, where do they, like, see what sex looks like? You know, I think a lot of people, that answer is porn.
Well, you know, and mainstream porn is not good for education. And actually,
exactly.
the timing for this, and the reason I want to do your show this week is last week. I think it was last week. No, week before last. I had the founder of Sex Smart Films on, and we were just talking about that, how mainstream porn, and I knew you were coming on, so I made a point of saying, you know, mainstream porn when we were talking, is just not an educational product. It's just not.
Exactly.
You know, that's not the purpose behind it, you know.
Yep.
So, and I said in that show, you know, there are some types that are out that are much better if you actually want to learn, but your typical and the majority of what's out there and what's been out there for years and years and years, that it's not educational content. That's not what it's for. And the thing is, a lot of people, and especially teens, that's what they're using it for. And I used to manage a video store that rented porn, you know. And I know for a fact what we had, there were a whole lot of people, even older, that were renting it thinking that's how to do it. And it's like, no, this is for entertainment purposes, and it ought to say entertainment purposes only on, and actually it did on the boxes. I know it did, because I processed them and put them out for rent, you know, and all that. But, you know, people take it seriously and assume that's how to do it, you know.
Yeah.
But
and there's so many different ways to do it. You know, there's just such a big spectrum of, you know, and such a big spectrum of how to have sex. And I think that, you know, sex is a skill like anything else, but we also kind of have this idea that, like, you know, you're supposed to meet somebody and then, you know, you do it and it's either, like, amazing and perfect and everything you wanted, or it's not, and then there's something wrong with you. And, like, I think sex is a skill.
I agree with you, and I think people assume that if you have sex with somebody that's not great, then you're not right for each other. And it's like, okay, but you can improve your skills just like you can improve any of your skills. You know, it's not that because you have sex with a person, you're not right for each other. Maybe the two of you just don't know, one or both or whatever, don't know how to have sex, or you haven't communicated with each other what you need. And so that's why there's a problem between it. You know, a lot of people don't communicate with each other about sex, or they don't know what they want and need. Because, you know, if you don't know what you want and need, then
how can you tell somebody else?
Communicate? Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We are so
yeah. So
page.
at Afterglow, we have like guided masturbations. We have a guided cunnilingus exercise that you can do with a partner. That's really fun.
Hold on.
We have all these tools to help. Yeah.
Did you say guided masturbation? I love that. What is that? I have to ask. What is that?
It's an audio track, so you just kind of like put it on next to the bedside. You kind of get your space all set up, turn on your candles, put your music on, and then it's this amazing sex coach who tells you what to do, like tells you to kind of like start just touching your body, touching different parts of yourself. And I think it's about 40 minutes long. So one of the nice things is it gets you out of your normal routine and really makes you think about what feels good, what brings you pleasure, and really like enjoy, like turn it into like almost a spiritual experience, honestly.
Wow. You know what's funny is several years ago, probably 3 or 4, I actually did something like that, kind of playing around with the idea. I didn't know what to call it, but that's an awesome name for it, thinking that kind of thing would be very helpful for people. But I never did anything with it because, like I said, I couldn't figure out what to call it. Huh. Fascinating.
Yeah, it's so much fun just to like see what gives you, really like stop to think about what gives you pleasure instead of just kind of going through the motions. Right.
Because, well, and people just don't even know where to, some people just don't even know where to start, And I've said on here so many times that you can't communicate to your partner what to do to bring you pleasure if you don't know what brings you pleasure, And
yeah.
I hate the mentality or dislike the mentality when somebody says, well, it's their responsibility to give me an orgasm. No, it's not, And people are like, well, I have to break up with this person because they don't please me. Well,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
I think you and I are going to be, I think we're going to be friends. I think we're going to get along. All right. Interesting. Okay, so tell me the first time you saw porn, what was your impression?
Yeah. It turned me on.
Well, this is good. That's what it's supposed to do, right?
Yeah. I think one thing that porn does well is it does turn you on, and I think sometimes as women, we're not as easy to get to that place as men are, and we sometimes need a little, whether it's an audio or a book or whatever. It's like, it's nice to have a little something that is going to kind of get you to that place.
It's interesting. I have found more and more male friends of mine enjoy erotica. They enjoy reading erotica, which has really shocked me. I like it, but it surprised me that so many, because and I always said, guys like porn because they can see it. But
yeah.
It really has been interesting how many guys I talk to that say they like reading erotic stories.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
I think there's less difference, I think there's less difference between the genders than, sometimes we've been led to believe. Like, people have this idea that women don't like porn, but, 30% of porn watchers are women, and 73% of women have watched porn in the past 6 months. So that's obviously not true. And same thing with the guys, they like reading, they like stories. I think, we all have things that turn us on.
Well, and women have been reading bodice ripper stories forever, so
forever.
They're basically consuming porn. It's just written instead of a movie. And I mean, who do you think watches the stuff on Lifetime? Come on, the late night Lifetime stuff is just soft porn. It is, so it's not that different. They just don't show frontal views, So
totally. And
yeah.
even the type of stuff that women watch, like women actually, like one thing that's surprising is that women actually search for rough sex more than men do.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting. Huh. Well, and like Law and Order SVU, huge hit and it's been on for what, 20 some years now?
Mhm.
You know. And I mean, that's fascinating. All right. Well, you just have all kinds of interesting little stats and information at your fingertips. You know, I thoroughly enjoyed your piece that you wrote. I created a female-led porn site. I actually read that twice. I enjoyed that so much. I like when you were saying that, you know, you enjoyed it, but then you went back and you were trying to find porn that you just really enjoyed and just hit the spot for you, you know. And I've had that same problem because I'll look through and start watching something and be like, no, and because I mean, if it doesn't interest you in reasonably quick, it's like, nah, you just go on to the next. And there's so much that you can just kind of go on to the next. And it's like,
and then it kind of leaves you feeling a little like gross, and you're like, why am I watching this? Like, I wanted to feel good, and now I'm not, and it's just really frustrating.
Well, especially when you're in the mood to watch something, and you go through, and there's just nothing that turns you on, you know?
Yep.
And it's like, okay, and there's certain topics that usually turn you on, and it's just nothing in there that's just doing it, you know? So I said, see, I'm not the only one. You know? That's so bad. I like to do. She says, you know, but you know, making porn for myself seemed a little bit racy for my stable life. So I was like, there you go.
Well, I'm here to do that for you. I'm here to help you out.
Oh, okay, but and then this is so funny. So it's okay. I'm gonna go back on the story a little bit, but I have to ask you first. What happened when you told your mom you were going to do this?
Yeah, it was actually really funny because I was really nervous to tell my mom.
I would think.
You know, I grew up somewhat conservative, and you know, I had like an awkward sex talk at 16, but other than that, like my mom and I didn't really talk about that stuff. So when I told her, I just kind of like, you know, blurted it out. Like, this is what I'm doing, Mom. I'm making a porn site for women. And she kind of like looks at me and just, you know, kind of blank face. And then she's like, oh, yeah, women don't really like the cum shot, do they?
That's funny.
And I was like, okay, whew, like let out a big breath. I'm like, okay. I guess she knows more than I thought.
Yeah, I know. I would not have expected that reply from a mom. But yeah. Okay. Yeah, that I think that would have led to too many questions I would have wanted to ask, and just I'm going home now. That's too funny. Oh my gracious. But yeah. Okay, so what you had thought about this and you had thought about this, but there were certain things kind of holding you back, and I can understand the, you know, conservative background and that sort of thing. Boy, can I relate to that. So what finally gave you the nudge and said, okay, I'm going to do it?
Yeah, so I actually went on a 10-day completely silent meditation retreat. Just meditating all hours of the day. You couldn't talk to anybody around you. There were people around you, but you weren't allowed to talk to them. You just had to sit there with your thoughts. And it was on Maui in Hawaii. It was beautiful. There was like birds singing. There was waves crashing. And you know, I was sitting there cross-legged, breathing. And I just had this like moment of insight where it felt like a voice kind of came to me and was like, you need to do this now. Like, now is the time. Like, you're never going to feel 100% ready, and you just kind of got to leap and do it and figure it out as you go.
Interesting. All right. Now, this happened in, like, early 2020. So we're talking about, like, right around the whole COVID.
Yeah. It was February of 2020. So I came back and I was like, okay, like, you know, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to like talk to my friend Jackie, who's really into this stuff. I'm going to talk to like my other friend who's great at social media. Like I had this whole, like I was like so excited and so ready to go. And then I get back and then 2 weeks later, everything shuts down.
Yeah, you know, it just did kind of happen out of the blue. So basically the world shut down, and I'm guessing that you didn't really have any experience. You've done a lot of things and a lot of business experience and successes, but I'm guessing that you didn't have any experience with film and the entertainment business, and I'm guessing that you didn't have a lot of like porn stars in your Rolodex. I'm just guessing off the top of my head.
Yep.
And
I
even
started my career as an accountant, so I think that's about as far as you can get from accountant to making porn, producing porn. So yeah, I had no contacts, no connections, and you know I spent a lot of that time of lockdown just doing a ton of research and really learning as much as I could about the industry. But it's a really, you know, the interesting thing about porn is it's so socially stigmatized that, you know, you can't just go on LinkedIn and like look up, you know, people in the industry, or like, you know, you can't read a book or take a class on like, you know, how to get your start. So it was definitely a fun challenge for me.
I gotta say, I literally, and I don't laugh out loud very often, but I was reading through this, and it says sometimes it felt like I was going nowhere. How did nobody I know, or how was it that nobody I know was connected to a porn star? I was like, that's not a thought that most of us have on a daily basis. You know?
Yeah.
I said, but I know Brian. I do know people that do. So
yeah.
but that was just, I'm like, especially in the middle of COVID, that's just not a thought most people have.
Yeah, and it's also one thing that somebody very smart said to me is, you know, you probably do know somebody that has some kind of sex work experience.
Right.
They're just not telling you.
This is true. This is true. Well, you know, now it was funny. I actually I was reading something about I'm connected to all kinds of people that work in the quote unquote sex industry, just because of my love coaching and all the connections I have now with that. And it's fascinating what qualifies as being a quote unquote sex worker. It's a very, anybody that does sex education, sex counseling, anything like that is now considered a sex worker. So it's a very broad umbrella that encompasses a whole lot of people now. So
and it's so crazy how, like, you know, Instagram and Facebook like censor sex coaches and, you know, sex therapists who are out there really just trying to educate people. And like, you know, like I understand that they are, you know, making sure that there's no prostitution on their platform. But like saying the word sex is considered prostitution in their eyes, which I think is just insane.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's like they used to, for years, they used to always push me to buy ads for my radio show. And they finally for about the first 6 years I was on air, they did that. And they finally stopped about 2 years ago because anytime I tried, they would turn them down. And they finally stopped, probably about 2 years ago, they finally stopped doing it. And I'm like, I don't know why y'all bother. You're just going to turn it down if I do anyway. You know, no matter what I tried to promote, and because they already flagged, you know. So I was doing one trying to help people to recover from trauma after being assaulted. They wouldn't even approve that. I'm like, no. So,
and it's like that's the information that is so needed in our culture and our society, and it's like we're not even allowed to talk about it.
yeah. So it's like,
so, I appreciate you having this radio program and letting, really bringing attention to a lot of these topics.
Yeah. Well, and it's a lot of what I cover on here is to help people to improve the quality of their life.
Yeah.
And if Facebook can't grasp that, then yeah, whatever. There's other ways to do it. So
exactly.
Okay, so you said one of the big breaks you had was when you reached out and you got in touch with an ethical porn consultant. What the heck? That's probably something most listeners have never heard of. What's an ethical porn consultant?
Yeah. So their name is Rooster, and they experienced some harm on a porn set, and that's really what made them become an activist in this space. And really, a lot of people just don't know what porn sets are like. They don't know, we have this kind of like image in our mind of like maybe a seedy, like hotel room kind of thing with a bunch of guys and, a young woman. And so they've been really an advocate for talking about what are the standards of the industry and what should they be. And those include things like knowing what type of sex acts you're expected to perform before you show up, knowing who your scene partner is, knowing how much you're going to get paid and when you're going to get paid. Really basic labor laws, because it's a job just like any other job, and you should know what your job is going to be when you show up.
Makes good sense. Well, and I think that's something a lot of people kind of buy into the hype. We can't say there haven't been and aren't some definite issues with some porn producers, okay?
Yep.
And directors and all that sort of thing. Because there definitely have been at various times.
Yep.
But from the things that I've heard, that has been straightened out for the most part. And like I said, I could be wrong, but that's just the things that I've heard. And, I had Joanna Angel on here, too, I think for my 300th show, and talked to her about the way that she does things with her company. And people need to catch up. They need to catch up with how things are being done now. And especially with the fact that there are women that are in charge now. You're not just looking at the sleazy old man that's bringing in women for various reasons and this kind of thing. And just so he can have a woman there, and basically just for him to get off on whatever's going on. They need to look at the way things are being done now. And I don't remember the name of the book. There was a really cool book that I got a copy of to review. So somebody just anonymously sent it to me, which was cool. And it was breaking down the porn industry, and it went all the way back to the early, really, really big, well-known ones, and was talking about how things are being done, had been done, being done now, that kind of thing. And it was actually, it was probably 6 or 7 years ago. I'd love to see an updated version of the same kind of thing. And just the way the industry's changed. And it was a great book. And it was just interesting to see the changes that were being made, and there's even some big name porn stars that are making and creating their own businesses, their own brands, their own businesses, moving into mainstream work and this sort of thing. And it's really interesting to see what's happening and what's being done and that sort of thing. So, well, and even with what you're doing and creating a larger platform, plus the videos, and the website and so I just think it's really interesting to see what's going on, and people aren't keeping up with what the industry's doing. They're still kind of stuck on what was happening 50, 60 years ago.
Yeah. Basically, like any mainstream company that produces content, like that content is generally made much better, much more ethically than you would think, because, they're all worried about, if anything goes wrong, that's a big liability for them, and they don't want that at all. And
right.
I think that a lot of the issues, I think one thing that people don't realize is that porn, by definition, is consent, is done consensually. If it's not consensual, then it's image-based sexual abuse material. It's not porn.
Right.
And so I think one of the things that people dislike about mainstream sites is, they just haven't been as on top of content moderation as, really identifying what is consensual, what's porn, what is image-based sexual abuse, and really taking all of the bad stuff off their platform. But, Facebook and Instagram also have just as bad content moderation issues. So it's really not, it's really a bigger issue than just the industry.
Right. Interesting. Like I said, I like getting perspectives from people that are actually working there and doing things, because I think, well, like everything else, people have a very skewed view of things by listening to what the media is putting out there and what social media is putting out there, and don't really have a realistic view of things. So, and let me see. I like the way you wrap this up by saying, my mission is to open up the conversation around sex even more, and to help people have more great sex. Good mission. By combining porn and sexual wellness, I want to help people have a healthy, balanced sex life. Yes, I agree. I agree completely. And that helps them have a healthy, balanced relationship, which is, wonderful.
When you're having great sex, I just feel like that bleeds into so many areas of your life. You just full of creativity, of joy. I think it's such a core part of who we are as human beings. And, for us to just not talk about it when we talk so much about food, we talk so much about sleep, we talk so much about shelter, it's silly. Yeah.
Well, people, and this comes up on here quite a bit too, is that when you're more knowledgeable and confident in your sex life, and even more confident in your sexuality, okay, even if you're not with a partner, but you're confident sexually, okay, you're overall more confident, and we're talking about how you can tell a person that's confident. They've just got something, when they walk in the room, it's that it factor, when somebody, if somebody walks in a room and they're not confident, and somebody else comes in right after them and they are confident, the difference between those two people, night and day, you can tell the confident person in a heartbeat. And the person less confident, you can tell that in a heartbeat. You may not immediately know that's what it is, but there's something totally different between those two people, and it just, and like I said, even if you're not at that moment in a relationship with somebody, it's still that confidence, and it's, and like you said, it's that creativity, and it's all aspects of your life are more on point, more vivid, more everything. And it sounds crazy until you actually experience it yourself. It just, like I said, I thought it was nuts until I actually experienced it myself, and it's like, wow.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean you have a crazy sex life. That's not what it is. It's just and you're just more in tune with yourself and your body. Even if it's just understanding and being aware of your body and yourself. And there's so many times, like I've been through a whole lot of unbelievable health issues the last 6 years. I had a major health crisis 6 years ago, and have been through all kinds of major surgeries and stuff. And it's flipped my health upside down. And I've literally, in order to kind of stay on top of all this, I've had to become very aware of what my body's going through, and stay very on top of the situation and this kind of stuff with the doctors. And my biggest thing has become, I have to listen to what my body's telling me and know, like, when I have to stop, when I'm pushing too hard, when I have to take a nap, that kind of thing. And it's amazing the difference when you're staying in tune with what your body's telling you, in listening, and you're just more in sync with yourself, what your body needs and that kind of thing. I didn't do that for the longest time. I lived in the body, obviously, but you can feel disconnected. It was like the first month or so I was taking chemo and radiation treatments. I literally came home, and it was so funny one day, or so strange. I literally felt disconnected from myself. And I'm like, okay, this has got to stop. When you're going through that kind of thing, you don't want to be in your body because of all the mess you're going through. But it's like, I didn't work this hard to get this connected to let an illness undo all that work, So I gotta get reconnected. I've got to get connected with my body again, because this at this point I have to be listening to my body, and I can't do it if I'm disconnected. So it's it was just the weirdest feeling.
That takes a lot of strength to really be in your body, even when it doesn't feel good to be in your body too. And I think it's like our body's always giving us all these signals, and we kind of have the choice to kind of work on turning the volume up, or some people kind of work on turning the volume down.
Right. Yeah, just like, if your car's making a noise, do you turn the radio up so you don't have to listen to it, or do you turn the volume down and go, okay, I need to pay attention, and get it fixed?
Yep.
Same thing with our body. Are we listening to what our body's telling us, or are we ignoring it? So, good point. I like that. See, I love that. Okay, so how do I want to ask this? How are you merging porn and sexual wellness? And what is sexual wellness? For the listeners that may be going, what does she mean, sexual wellness?
That's a great question.
What is it, and what is it, and why should they care? How about that?
Yeah, for me, sexual wellness is kind of a step beyond like basic health. It's a step beyond like, am I practicing safe sex? How am I, is my body healthy? It's really kind of getting up to the level of pleasure, and does this feel good for me? So, is this healthy? Is this kind of healthy for me in like a greater kind of long-term way? So, maybe questions like, does having sex with this person, make me feel good, not just in my body, but also in the rest of my life? Like, are they treating me well? Do I feel happy afterwards? Starting to pay attention to some of those bigger questions of like how your sex life and your sexuality affects the rest of your life, and not just like, am I free from disease? Okay. Now, at the very beginning, I mentioned you're a solo founder, and we're used to the word co-founder. Tell us what a solo founder is, and why you did it that way. Yeah, so solo founder basically means, I'm the founder, I'm the CEO. I don't have any co-founders like people are used to. And, I started this by myself. I actually really believe in co-founders. I think it's really good. I don't necessarily believe that being a solo founder is the right way to do things, but I've learned from my past business experiences, and I think it's the same in business relationships as it is in, love, romantic relationships. I say it's like, it's way better to be single than it is to be in a relationship with the wrong person.
Yes.
And,
I knew this was a relationship question.
Yeah, so I've learned to just take my time with, building relationships with people and not just kind of jumping into a co-founder relationship. Like, to me, that's like getting married to someone. Like, that's a big deal. And so, I have some really amazing people on my team, and, I would love to have them turn into potentially a co-founder at some future point.
I think that's very smart. Go ahead, get things going, get it established, and take your time finding somebody to bring in with you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's being in business with the wrong person. Wow, wow.
Destroys it. Yeah.
Yeah, big issues with that. So, seeing as how you were going into a different industry, a different everything, what were your biggest challenges personally and professionally getting this up and going?
Yeah, great question. I think it was very humbling for me to go into a completely different industry because, I kind of established myself in what I was doing before, and I thought I was so smart and knew exactly what to do, and every industry is just totally different, and so I had to go back to that beginner's mindset and that, learning new things and really seeking to understand. And that was hard for me at sometimes because I just want to be successful and go big. And it's like, no, you can't just bulldozer over what's already there. You have to really understand the landscape and understand, how you fit in. And, I really believe in supporting the porn industry and of being a part of the porn industry and not thinking that I don't think there's anything wrong with watching the porn, mainstream porn at all. It's really great for what it's designed for. And I'm just really trying to offer an alternative. And so really kind of going through that process was one of the enjoyable parts of starting this business.
Cool. So now your films are geared toward women, is that right?
Yeah, so basically we focus on the pleasure of all participants.
Okay. So do just women come to your site or do men come also?
Yeah, we have actually a lot of male subscribers who are looking for some of the same things that I hear from a lot of the women customers I speak to, which is, they want to see genuine connection, authentic connection. They want to see authentic pleasure. They want to know that it's ethically produced. They want to, see more realistic scenarios perhaps. Some of our cinematic films, you see communication, you see consent, you see these things that are sometimes left out of what we traditionally think of as porn.
Awesome. Well, this may shock some people if they don't know a certain type of guy, but and this may be a well-kept secret to a lot of people, but there are men out there who enjoy having sex with women that they have an actual connection with.
Yeah. And they enjoy pleasing. They want to please women. I think that's another thing.
Yeah, they do.
So many men that really want to please women.
Bless their hearts. So,
yeah.
and the rest of them. So, Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now,
And I feel like if my goal is like, my goal is to inspire great sex, and to do that, you can't just solely focus on one gender. You have to, it takes two to tango.
Yes. Now, I want the audience, the women in particular, to just kind of lean their heads back, close their eyes, and listen to what I'm going to tell them right now. Okay? Now, just focus. Okay? Close your eyes. Now, a take-charge woman instructs her handsome lover on just how she'd like to be pleased. He more than willingly obliges her, catering to her innermost desires and fantasies as he goes down on her, all the while playing up to her as he indulges and satisfies her every need. You can see it all in the porn film. Now, wait a minute. What did I say? Indulges and satisfies her every need. You can see it in a porn film. What? Her satisfy her needs? Not his needs? Her needs? Lily, is that possible? Could it be?
It's possible. It's here.
There are such movies out there?
We got them.
I had to do it. I had to. So,
you got me going a little bit with that,
Yeah, but that was the goal. That was the goal. If I had another description like that, I'd do it again. And that, for people who would like to know, that was from the movie Lip Service. Now tell me that doesn't get you thinking. And actually, is that the movie that there's a clip on the landing page of your website?
Yes.
Aha. Just saying, in case you'd like to see a small clip from that. And I'm just telling you, I've seen her expression. Yeah. Okay.
And if anybody listening wants to check out the entire video of Lip Service, they can sign up on exoafterglow.com, and they can use the code PLEASURE for a free 30-day trial, and they can see all of the sexy videos.
Ooh, pleasure. That sounds like a good code. I like that. Easy to remember, too. All right. I didn't know if y'all were still doing that or not. I meant to ask you that before we started, and I forgot. All right. Yeah, I saw that description on one of your interviews. I was like, I got to use that. Oh, my goodness, that's too good. Okay, and now there was something about, let me find my notes here. I've got like 38 pages of notes. Where you bought out films from other people that you're also showing on your site.
Yeah.
Nina Lennox. Tell me about that.
So when I was, in that time we talked about where I was researching and I was trying to figure out, does anybody know anybody? I got connected with Nina Lennox, who was a feminist porn pioneer in the late 90s, early 2000s. And she created the first cable channel for women and had amazing films. But, she's since been out of the industry for a while. And, I think a lot of women enjoy watching older films, like more vintage films, because they feel like there's more real, authentic pleasure. And, she was super kind to me. She gave me tons of great advice, great feedback, told me her story. And since she wasn't really in the industry anymore, I said, hey, I'd love to have your films on Afterglow. And she's like, yeah, of course, I'd love that. Then they get to, they were, I actually have, she also gave me as part of buying her collection, I have thousands of porn DVDs in my closet.
Oh. That's not a bad thing.
So I'm shocked. Whenever anyone comes over to my house, they end up with a porn DVD, whether they want it or not.
Now, there's this one, and it's called Erection Services, starring Julian, and it's about a male bordello for women. Seriously?
Mm-hmm.
That I looked at that and went, holy crap, I like that idea. So about time. That's too funny. Oh my goodness. But yeah, wow. I was reading all this at like 2:00 this morning. That's interesting reading material for 2:00 in the morning is all I can tell you. Mm-hmm. But interesting. So you've got her films, and you've got, and that was from Impulse. Was that the name?
Impulse Pictures, yeah.
Okay. So you've got her stuff, you've got your movies, and I was looking around the website, and you've got articles, and actually you've got, I was enjoying the articles that you've got. So people can visit the website, and like I said, fascinating landing page with the clip from Lip Service. You've got some other movies that because I get all of Brian's press releases, and every time I see that he's got a press release, this could be fascinating. And you've got her films, and you've got a special PR campaign throughout August, a different theme each week.
Yeah. So when I started, when I had this meditation moment of I'm going to start this company, and I had the problem of like I have never been able to find any films that I like. And as I did more research and as I learned more, I realized there was this whole, we call it like an indie porn, kind of like indie movies. There's a whole indie porn scene out there, and there's a bunch of really awesome creators and producers out there that are already making really amazing films. And so as part of Afterglow, I wanted to highlight those producers and those individuals and really showcase their amazing work too, because they're doing such cool things in the industry. So for the month of August, we're really focused around some of the people that we work with in helping to bring, this porn and sexual wellness content to more people.
Okay, interesting. Well, I did too. When I was working at the store and we were renting X-rated movies, the amateur films were huge. I mean, that was the stuff that people really enjoyed. So you actually had more of the authenticity. Yeah. It wasn't the mainstream whatever. And I mean the keep forgetting the word. The amateur films rented at least 2 to 3 times what everything else did. So anytime I could get a deal on those, I always brought them in because I knew they were going to go out first. But like I said, you had so much more authenticity, because it was real people, and it was a completely different feel to those films over everything else. But yeah, some of the guys that came in and rented would actually stop at the door and like holler back, new amateur stuff. I'm like, yeah, no, and they come back and get it. So, an interesting little tidbit there too was that the women that rented would come straight in and go right to the shelf and get what they wanted, check out and go, right? The guys would come in, mosey around the store, check everything else, and then eventually go get what they wanted and then slink out of the store. But it was just funny because the women, they knew what they were there for, and they'd get it, no problem. Yeah. But the guys, like, they would just, no joke, it would take them a half an hour to get to the shelf. Women, they were in and out, knew what they wanted, they were there. I was like, okay. So, but yeah, it was just the difference in their attitude and their actions were just hysterical. But I was thinking about it, well, the guys, their wives were shaming them, and so, the women, but yeah, the women just, they knew what they wanted, and they just came in, got it, and back out the door. So, and if a husband and wife came in together, the wife got the stuff for them. So, it's like, alrighty then. Oh, so is there anything that I forgot to ask you or missed asking you?
Let's see. Yeah, I think one thing that I want to say is just that, like, porn is a really great part of a balanced sex life, which I think we touched on a little bit earlier, but, porn is great for turning us on. It's great for exploring our fantasies. It's very common for, couples to watch maybe like a threesome porn, even if they never want to do that in their real life. It's just, sometimes it's fun just to see it on screen and to fantasize. And I think, it's great to see what sex looks like, whether it's the kind of sex that you want to have or not. And it's just so helpful in communicating with a partner or with somebody to say, like, hey, let's try that, like, that looks like fun.
True.
And a lot of those conversations are just lost. True.
Well, it can be interesting too if you think that you want to have sex in the room with another couple. Mm-hmm. That's a good way to kind of test the idea and hear another couple in the room and before you actually do it, to see if just something I've heard people say that they've tried that and if having porn on in the room freaks you out, then probably having actual people in the room is gonna freak you out too. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But but yeah, you can get some interesting ideas, and of course, you might want to make sure how crazy what they're doing is, but but yeah, it's interesting to know that you are still doing the 30-day deal. So you want to tell them again your website and about the 30-day special?
Yes. So the website is XO, like Hugs and Kisses, XOAfterglow.com. And the access code, so you click sign up, and it'll ask you for an access code. And if you put in pleasure, that will give you a free 30-day trial site.
Is that pleasure like capital letters, lowercase letters? Doesn't make a difference.
That doesn't make a difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I don't
and you asked me why, at the beginning I think you were going to ask why I named it Afterglow.
Yes.
Couple of reasons. I was looking for a word that was related to sex but felt really fun and happy and pleasurable, whereas I think a lot of the words related to sex feel kind of like dark and dungeony and seedy, and that's really not the environment we're trying to create. We're really trying to create a safe space for exploration, and I thought that the name Afterglow captured that so well.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
Good job. I like that.
Yeah, and I was on a road trip and I was driving and I was listening to a song by the band Purity Ring, and it says, "Leave me in the afterglow." And once I heard that, I was like, I had been thinking, like, what do we name it? What's it going to be? And I heard that song and I was just like, that's it.
Exactly. I was last week on the show. I was talking to somebody and she's trying to do a podcast and can't figure out what to name it. And I said, man, it's hard to come up with names. Well, Lily, thank you very much for being with us this week. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I'm hoping.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh yeah. And thank you for the 30-day offer for my listeners, and I'm gonna do that too. And there will be a replay of the show on the website if you go to lovecoachjourney.com/XO Afterglow. So thanks again, Lilly. I really enjoyed it. And listeners, I'll be with you next time on Ready for Love Radio.